Today is day 12 for my Bonne Maman advent calendar. Let's open up door number 12 and let's see what's behind it. Counter cooking. No kitchen, no problem. Here's door number 12. It's in the middle of the calendar on the bottom. This one was a little bit tough to open. It says, let it snow. And this is wild blueberry balm leaves spread. I don't even know what balm leaves are. Here's the fruit spread. It looks and smells like blueberry jam, and I think maybe balm leaves is lemon balm. I could be wrong, but maybe. This is kind of a loose spread. That is really good. To me, it tastes like wild blueberries with a hint of spearmint, which might make sense if it was lemon balm, because I think lemon balm and spearmint are kind of in the same family. Today I want to make a blueberry apple pie, and the first thing I want to do is make some pie crust. And I've been looking at store-bought pie crust, and I am like horrified at the ingredients in most of it, because it should be like really simple, just like flour, butter, and water. So I'm making my own. In this bowl I have a half of a cup of all-purpose flour, and I also have 3 tablespoons of butter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the butter up into small pieces, and then I'm going to work the small pieces into the flour, very similar to how I did it for the scone recipe and for the biscuit recipe. So here's my big chunk of butter. The first thing I'm going to do is cut it up, and this is cold butter right out of the fridge. Here's all of my butter cut into small pieces. I've added it to the flour, and now what I want to do is just kind of squish the butter into the flour, if that makes any sense. I want to end up with like a crumbly consistency. Just make sure the butter pieces are covered in flour before you squish them. That way it's not a total mess. Some people like to do this with a pastry cutter, and if I remember back to like when I was in school and we had to take home ec, they taught us how to do it with 2 knives, like to cut in the butter with 2 knives. But I just tend to like this method more because it's faster. It's just so much faster to just like squeeze it in with your hands. Do you see how the texture is getting nice and crumbly? You just want to make sure that there's no butter lumps. All the butter is incorporated with the flour. Any lumps that we see here are where the dough is already starting to form. It's not butter lumps anymore. It's just the actual dough almost forming. So we have our nice crumbly consistency. All we need to do now is add 2 tablespoons of ice water. To make my ice water, I take a small bottle of water and I stick it in the freezer for a while, and then it's just as cold as ice water. It's just easier to do that. So there it is. I added the 2 tablespoons of ice water, and now I'm going to mix this in, and our pie dough should start forming. I'm going to give it a good squeeze. You see how nice it's turned into pie crust? So this is actually a little bit too sticky right now. I might have added just like a little bit too much water. You know, sometimes the measuring instruments that you use are not 100% accurate. I'm gonna see maybe if I knead this a little bit, it won't feel so sticky. It was quite sticky at first. I just want to sprinkle a little bit more of the flour on top. That should help take some of the stickiness out of it. Okay, so this is, I think this is good right now. Just want to work that flour in. Knead it a little bit. Yeah, this is really good. So we have a really nice pie dough, and how easy was that to make? So this is a partial pie dough recipe. I actually cut down a larger pie dough recipe to make this because I'm only making a mini pie. I don't even know if I'm going to need this much dough, so I'm actually going to cut it in half. So this dough stores really well in the freezer, and I'll normally just take a chunk of it like this, throw it in a freezer bag and throw it in the freezer, and then whenever I want pie crust, I can just take it out, roll it out, and use it. So right now I'm going to use this half, and we'll see if we have enough to make a pie. Here's half of that pie dough, and I'm just going to start rolling it out. It should stretch out, and maybe it'll be enough for like a top crust and a bottom crust. If not, we still have the other half. I like a nice thin crust. Let's see what we can get out of here. So this is the pie crust cutter that came with the mini pie maker. So that's the bottom. Oh no, please don't stick. Okay, it's not sticking. Good. Putting a little more flour on my surface. I just don't want it to stick. Let's roll up the rest of the dough. Hopefully we'll have enough for the top. A lot of people want you to believe that baking is scary and that like it's an exact science and everything has to be perfect, but that is not the case at all. Because if you think about it, like 100 years ago, everyone baked. Like prior to that, if you wanted to eat any kind of baked item, you had to bake it yourself. And nobody was like scientists and bakers or anything like that. So look, I think we're gonna have enough to do the top. So there's the top. And that worked out good. So the little bit of dough that I made is enough to make 2 pies out of. So I'm going to take the extra dough and I'll put it in a freezer bag, and it's going to go in my freezer. And in the future I can make another pie with it. Here's my Dash Mini Pie Maker. I just plugged it in. The blue light is on. Once the blue light is off, we're ready to start making our pie. For the filling, I have a small apple that I cut into small pieces, and I'm going to mix in today's fruit spread. I'm using the fruit spread in place of sugar. And I'm adding a little bit of flour just to kind of thicken this up, because as it cooks, it will release some of the juices of the fruit. A little bit more flour. That looks good. The pie maker is ready. Let's open it up. And let's put our bottom crust in. I'm just pushing it in gently. I don't want to burn myself, so just make sure that you're only touching the dough. Let's fill it with our filling. I've heard that it's better to overfill these pies than underfill them. So that's a really nice filling. And then here's the top crust. I did cut an X into it, which maybe I should not have done, but I just wanted the steam to escape. I don't know if the top crust is going to attach to the bottom crust. You see, it's so full that it's pulling like the crust in. So we'll see what happens. I'll be back in about 8 minutes to check on this. It's been about 10 minutes now. Let's see what's going on with this pie. Look at that. I think it looks good. It's a little brown around the edges, but I'm okay with that. So I'm going to unplug this pie maker. And I'm going to let it cool off for a little bit before I try to take it out. I don't know if it's going to come out in one piece because I don't know how well the top of the pie attached to the bottom of the pie. It could be a disaster. But right now, it looks cute. Here's the mini pie. I waited about 3 or 4 minutes and then this pie came out super easy. I just used my little silicone spatula to pry up a side and it popped right out. So fingers crossed. It'll be really good when I cut into it, but I'm going to wait for it to cool and set a little bit, and I'll be back later. It's about an hour later, and this pie has been calling me, so I am going to cut it open and taste a piece of it right now, maybe even eat the whole thing. It's still a little bit warm, but it's definitely not like hot anymore, so let's see how it came out. Can we cut a small piece, or is it going to like fall apart? Look at how good that looks. The filling is holding together nicely. It's a little tiny bit drippy, but that's to be expected. It is a fruit filling. Okay, now let's taste this. Let's see if I could pick it up with my hand. I'm just gonna push some of the filling back in. Look at that, a beautiful thin crust. Lots and lots of fruit filling. I hope it's good. That is so good. The fruit spread gives it just enough sweetness. The apples are still very slightly crunchy, like they're soft. They're by no means raw, but they do have just a little bit of crunch left to them. And the pie crust is so thin and delicate and flaky. I don't know if you could see how flaky it is. It's so good. I should also mention that the pie crust is very buttery. I'm getting a definite buttery flavor from it. This blows away any mini pie that you can buy in a store. I don't care what brand, what store. This is the real thing. Only 2 ingredients for the pie crust. And what do we have? 2 ingredients for the filling, apples and the blueberry fruit spread. Super simple to make, and the flavors are just so clean and fresh and delicious. So I'm super happy with this today. And so this is what I did with the fruit spread in my Bonne Maman advent calendar today. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see what else we can make with the fruit spreads in this Bonne Maman advent calendar. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.